This is a delightful part of the garden. It's really framed by these 3 or 4 trees. There's a very small weeping apricot here, maybe 3 meters tall. In the background over there, there is a beautiful 4 meter perhaps plum tree. Here in the foreground, there's this magnificent 10-meter box elder tree, which has a beautiful canopy well above the house and the rest of the garden. This is a lovely part of the garden where, in filtered sunshine, the maples grow and daphnes. There's a nice sitting area which has shade in summertime. We've got hellebores and azaleas under this tree. Winter's a good time to look at the structure of your trees. I used to have a great deal of trouble actually even growing any of that grass there. The grass, you can see it's very healthy now. The problem was that I'd let the branches of these trees grow too close to the ground, and I had too much shade. With the 3 trees and each of the trees sometimes having several layers of shade, we just had too much. So I started a campaign a few years ago of really shaving this very big tree up to about 3 meters. I trim off all the growth, and you can see there's all sorts of branches that I've just been trimming off now in the beginning of winter. When you can see the trunks really nicely, is a good time to do that job. That pushes the shade up very high and allows reflected light, not direct sunshine, but reflected light from the sky to come in, and will allow this grass to flourish. Even though it's not getting any direct sunshine, it's still quite light underneath there because we've pushed the shade up a little bit higher. The medium-sized tree in the background there, the plum tree, which is about 4 meters high, the trick with that is to trim it up so that you can walk underneath it. So that in effect that means trimming up any of the leaves and branches so that they're about 2 meters above, and means that if you can walk underneath it, then that's a pretty good result. And then for this smaller tree, it was being swamped by the 2 big trees, and it's now had a much better environment to live in. It's winter time, and you can see the structure of the trees a lot better. You can also see that actually you want the sunshine to come through those branches in winter time, so you don't want a very thick tangle of branches. So the take home for this is that you need to have some light in your shade. Now, it's a little bit contradictory, but it's actually true. Just because it's a shaded area doesn't mean it needs to be a very low light area. In fact, you can have a shaded area that has quite a lot of brightness in it because the shade itself is up very high. So all these, the grass in particular, will need a certain amount of light in order to grow nicely. And if you're getting bare patches and sogginess in your grass, it's possibly because it's not getting enough light. So one way to get that light is to thin out your trees in wintertime, because all plants need a certain amount of water and light and nutrients in order to flourish. As we move up this tree, about 3-4 meters up, you can see again the tree's trying to put out little branches here just to get a few more leaves, do a bit more photosynthesis. You can't blame it, seeing as though it's nice, it's quite light here. But if you keep going up, you'll see that above here there's quite a healthy canopy of shade anyway, so we don't need any further shade down at this level from these little really very insignificant branches, so trim them all off. Here's another example of a lower branch, a lot of busy growth coming out of that. You want to trim all this off. You don't need extra leaves down on the very bottom of the canopy. Look at all the leaves that are going to be up in those much higher branches. You've already got shade here. You don't need any extra shade here that would be created by all this busy growth there, so we'll just trim all of those off. Here's a nice example. This branch here is just growing underneath another branch, so really any shade that it's giving is just doubling the shade of the larger branch on top. So we're going to thin this one out, just remove it to keep the same amount of shade but have more light.